All rise. We will away. Please be seated. We have verses 1.
We are in open session, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Nairobi, you with us?
Yes, Mr. President, we're with you.
Thank you. And I do see the witness in the courtroom, in the on location in Nairobi. Is that the case?
Yes, Mr. President, the witness is in the transmission room.
All right, witness 516. Can you please administer the solemn declaration to the witness?
Yes, Mr. President.
Ninatamka kwa dhati ya kwamba nitasema ukweli.
The witness, I solemnly declare that I shall tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Witness, welcome and thank you for joining us. The last time we saw you was a brief introduction where I mentioned that
Mr. President.
that you are appearing on the force of the summons that was issued to you because the prosecutor wanted you to appear and testify. Thank you for coming. I want to tell you up front that that summons that was issued to you remains binding upon you until your testimony has been completed and the chamber has discharged you. Do you understand?
Naelewa, Mr. President.
The witness, yes, Your Honor, I understand.
You are joining us today by way of video conference. That means effectively the courtroom has been extended from where we are in The Hague to where you are in Nairobi, and we thank you for joining us in the courtroom as such. And as I usually say to every witness who appear before the court, that this courtroom belongs to them. I say the same to you. It belongs to you. This is your courtroom as a member of the international community. And the reason I say that in particular is to reassure you to be comfortable while you are with us with your testimony, and do not feel like a stranger when you're here. This court belongs to you as much as it does to the judges here and as well as to the lawyers who will be asking you questions. So keep that in mind as you testify. Do you understand?
Nakuelewa, Mr. President.
The witness, yes, I understand you, Your Honor.
You are here to help us with our work in conducting inquiry into the post-election violence that occurred in Kenya at the end of 2007, beginning of 2008. The work we are to do, we will need your assistance very much in doing it. And the assistance we need from you is to answer questions that the lawyers in this case will ask you. Do you understand?
Ndio nakuelewa, Mr. President.
The witness, yes, I understand, Your Honor.
The first set of lawyers that will ask you questions, I would say the first lawyer that will ask you questions will be a prosecution lawyer who will ask you questions. And after the questions from the prosecutor, there will be questions from the defense lawyers. Mr. Ruto has his lawyers in here. So too does Mr. Sang. Each of lawyers from both teams would ask you questions after the prosecutor has finished asking you questions. Now, it is important that you concentrate and listen carefully to the question that each person would ask you, one question at a time. You understand the question and then you answer it. It is important that you listen carefully and make sure you understand the question you are being asked before you start answering. It may be that you have all the answers to those questions, and that is fine. So you give them to us in as brief a manner as possible. When you finish answering the question in as brief a manner as possible, but still full, then you will stop. One question at a time. This is important. Stop and wait for the next question to come. The way I'm speaking now, I'm speaking, as you will see, slowly, and that would also happen in the questioning that will happen that people will be asking you. The reason why we speak slowly is not that we cannot speak fast. It's just that because there are interpretations happening, interpretations of these questions you will be asked. And what happens sometimes is when the questioner slows down or stops, you may think that this is time for you to kick in and start answering the question. It may also be that you've finished answering the question and the questioner hasn't started asking you the next question immediately. This is the important one. You finish answering one question and the questioner has not started asking you the next question immediately. Then you may think that you've not said enough and you will continue. That is not the idea. The reason why the questioner didn't start asking you questions immediately is because of the interpretation that is going on. So the questioner is speaking slowly and pausing. So do not use that opportunity to keep on talking, feeling that you have not said enough. This is very important. I take time, I spend time on it because I want you to make sure that your answers are brief and to the point, and then you wait for the next question. Do you understand?
Ninakuelewa, Mr. President.
The witness, I understand, Your Honor.
some of the questions that the lawyers will ask you may appear difficult to you, and some may appear even pointless. Some may even appear to be repeating a question that has already been asked of you, to which you've already given an answer. Do not worry about those. Just take it one question at a time and answer that question. Give the information that the question calls for and stop and wait for the next question. Do not worry about whether or not the question is fair to you or whether the question is pointless. Keep on answering until I say no. Do not answer that particular question that is being asked of you. So this is very important for you to keep in mind as well. Do you understand?
Nakuelewa, Mr. President.
The witness, I understand, Your Honor.
I also need to stress to you about that matter of whether or not you are being treated fairly by the lawyers who are asking you questions, by the manner of the questions they ask you. This is a matter that the judges take very seriously. The judges do not like lawyers, and that has not happened in this courtroom, I must tell you also. But we do guard against witnesses being treated unfairly because they have come to court to obey the law and to respect the court, to sit and answer questions. We do not take it kindly if lawyers take the opportunity to be unfair to the witnesses. So we will make sure that you are protected from that point of view. And I also want to say, it has not been the practice in this courtroom for lawyers to do that sort of thing. Do you understand?
Naelewa, Mr. President.
The witness, yes, I understand, Your Honor.
One thing above all that we take the most seriously is to speak the truth. We require you to speak to us only what is the truth, as you know it. If you do not know the answer to a certain question, do not be shy to say you do not know. If you do not remember the answer, also you can say that. You can tell us you do not remember. It will be for the lawyers to see what they can do, to see if they can remind you of the information, if that is possible. But at all times, it is important that you focus on telling us the truth. Do you understand?
Ndio, nakuelewa, Mr. President.
The witness, yes, I understand, Your Honor.
And about speaking the truth, we've been told that your lawyer who's been assigned to be on hand during your testimony has already advised you that it is an offense under Article 70 of the Rome Statute to intentionally give false testimony to the chamber, knowing that you are giving false testimony. It is also an offense for you to present false or forged evidence to the chamber, knowing that the evidence is false or forged. All that goes to the point of stressing the need for you to tell the truth. You understand that?
Ndio tunaelewana, Mr. President.
The witness, yes, I understand, Your Honor.
I also stress the need for you to concentrate on giving us information that you yourself know firsthand, things you saw yourself, or words you heard yourself. And if it is something you smelled yourself, assuming it's about smelling things that the question asked for, it has to be something that you yourself perceived with your own senses. Try to just give us that. Try to avoid guesswork or drawing inferences. When I say drawing inferences is when two things are put together and then one says because these two things are there, then the third thing must be the case, even though you do not or did not see the third thing yourself. So this is what I call drawing inferences. The example I use is in simple mathematics, 1 plus 1. So 1 plus 1 would be things that you would have known, and then equals 2 is the inference. Somebody said if 1 plus 1, then it has to be 2. Try not to give us the 2. Concentrate on 1 plus 1 that you yourself perceived. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Nakuelewa, Mr. President.
The witness, I understand, Your Honor.
Now, the court has granted the prosecutor's request that certain measures be put in place to enable your testimony to be taken with minimal stress to you and also to protect your identity. What those measures are, in essence, is we will not be your image, your face will not be broadcast to the public. Your voice also will not be heard directly to the public. The court has technology that's used to distort your image as well as your voice so that members of the public who know you will not readily know that it is you who is testifying. We've also put in place, we've allowed that your real name be not used when you testify, but only your pseudonym will be used. And from time to time, it may be necessary to go into private session. That is when the public will not hear anything at all, not even your distorted voice. We go into private session to receive information that may be identifying of you. So these are basic measures we've put in place to make sure that your identity is not disclosed to the public. Now, but we hope that for the most part, your testimony will be heard in public. That's your evidence will be heard in public, but without your identity being disclosed. When we are in the public session, it is important for you to avoid giving out information that may identify who you are, information like your name or names of relatives of yours or close friends. It's important that you do not mention those kinds of information when we're in the public session. Also, addresses of those people we don't want you to reveal in public. That includes your own address as well. In addition, there may be information that, although it is not a name or address, could be a story, an event that is very unique, that somebody listening in public might say, it could only be you that would know that information. So that sort of information we should also not give in the public session. That is why we have the private session. It does not mean that names or addresses or those sorts of unique information I mentioned may not be given at all by you in your testimony. It only means we will do that in private session. Do you understand?
Nakuelewa, Mr. President.
The witness. Yes, I do understand, Mr. President.
So please keep that in mind when we're in the public session and a question has been asked of you that may lead to you mentioning names or addresses of people close to you or unique information. Be sure to keep in mind to draw my attention to it and request for us to go into private session so you can speak freely on the information. Now, there is a very important aspect of the advice I will have to give to you that makes our work go well. That is how you speak. As I said some time ago, that I'm speaking slowly. I also mentioned that there are gaps that lawyers would observe. I need to talk to you about that. We have interpreters and court reporters who do their work. Without their work, we cannot do ours successfully. Your testimony will not be properly recorded. So they're here to help us keep record of the proceedings, and we will like you to assist in making their work easy for them, as easy as possible. That requires you to not speak too fast during your testimony. That does not mean you speak very, very slowly. To speak at a moderate pace. There's also another part to that, useful information. That is the pause you need to take between the end of the question being asked of you and you beginning to answer it. We need you to observe a 5-second pause. You observe that by counting to 5 in your mind, like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you start answering. That pause of 5 seconds will make sure that there are not two people overlapping on the microphone. Your microphone over there and mine over here, and the microphones of the lawyers who are asking you questions. It is only through the microphones that the interpreters can hear you and the court reporters can hear you, to both interpret what you're saying and to record what you've said. We do not want to crowd the microphone with two people speaking at once. That is why the 5 seconds pause is important. When you observe it, it makes sure that there's enough time for the interpreters to finish interpreting before the next person starts talking, and that frees up the time, the space on the microphone for your testimony to be captured properly. So please keep that in mind. From time to time, I may be reminding you of the need to remember this advice, but it is very, very important for our work. Do you understand?
Sija
Answer. I am not sure that I fully understood what you just said, Mr. President.
It boils down to this. I'll repeat. You need to speak slowly, but not too slowly. You also need to wait for 5 seconds between the time somebody has finished asking you a question and the time you begin to answer the question. I need you to observe, to wait for 5 seconds. As I said, I counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you can start answering. Do you understand that?
nimekuelewa, Mr. President.
The witness. Mr. President, I understand you now.
Yes, thank you. So you observe those count to 5 in your mind. Count to 5 in your mind between the end of the question and then you're beginning to answer it. And then once you start answering, you then speak slowly, not too fast. That is the point I was trying to make. All right?
Ndio nakuelewa, Mr. President.
The witness. I understand you, Mr. President.
And finally, there's a lawyer standing by with you there. I see him sitting and taking notes. The reason why we appointed him to assist you or to be on standby is because there may be times during your testimony when a question might arise, whether the answer you will give to a particular question might incriminate you in a crime. That is why we have Mr. Kanate? Mr. Wandugi, I forget that. Can you please?
Wandugi Karate.
Karate, I think.
Mr. Karate.
That's right.
I'm sorry about
That's
that.
right.
Sorry, Mr. Karate. It's on hand to assist you when the time comes up and there's some concern that an answer you give may incriminate you. He will assist with any intervention, but be also on the lookout for such questions to indicate to the court that that possibility exists, that if you give an answer in the manner the question was asked, it might incriminate you. Mr. Karate would then be assisting with any submissions that may be made in that regard. He will also require us going into private session if we're in public session for that answer to be given. I understand that Mr. Karate has already advised you of what the legal position is, what the statutes of the court and the rules say on that matter. Is that correct?
Ndivyo, Mr. President.
The witness. Yes, Mr. President.
All right. With all that out of the way, I will now hand you over to the prosecutor who will start questioning you. Mr. Steinberg?
Yes, Mr. Khan points out transcript page 54, line 7 and 8. It might need a correction. We're not sure, but we think probably does.
Your Honour, the line, of course, the judges do not like lawyers. I'm sure it's not meant.
I'm sure you know that's not what was meant. All right. Judges very much like lawyers. Judges are lawyers too. So we will now have Mr. Steinberg start his questioning.
Thank you, Your Honours. Before I do, perhaps, one preliminary matter. I notice that the witness has thus far been utilising the assistance of an interpreter. Much like the last witness, Your Honours, this witness also conducted his interview with the OTP in English and provided a statement in English. So I wonder whether he might be able to assist us, at least initially, by giving his evidence in English with the proviso that the interpreter is on standby to assist him if necessary.
Witness, that is an important matter that the prosecutor has raised, and I thank him for reminding me of that. I was actually going to also discuss it with you. We note that you are now speaking to us in Swahili, and we understand that that is your preference. We understand why witnesses who come to court may want to testify in a language they feel the most comfortable in. In this case, that would be Swahili for you as compared to English. We would urge you to do your best to testify in English, and the reason for that is that things would move a little faster and we can finish sooner, and you will be done with your testimony much sooner. Also, and this is very, very important, apart from speed, it would also avoid any arguments or confusion about interpretation, whether what you said in Swahili has been correctly interpreted into English. It is for that reason that we encourage witnesses who are proficient enough in the English language to testify in English. We are not going to lock you out of Swahili altogether. The idea is not to say, well, you must testify in Swahili all through. In English all through. You can start in English, and if there is some serious difficulty encountered from time to time for which you feel that it is best for you to testify, express yourself more fully in Swahili, we will accommodate that situation. Do you understand?
Nakuelewa, Mr. President.
The witness. Yes, I understand, Mr. President.
So if we can...
Can I say something, Mr. President?
May.
Can I say something, Mr. President?
Yes, proceed.
Ombi langu wakati tulipoongea na wewe nilikuwa nimesema nitoe kwa Kiswahili.
The witness. When I had a discussion with you, I expressed the desire to testify in Kiswahili, which is the language that I understand the most.
Is that what you wanted to remind me of, or what you wanted to tell me?
Yes, Mr. President.
Your Honour, may I, sorry to intervene, but...
The witness, yes, Mr. President.
...of help, because there's a slight implication in the way my friend dealt with this matter. which I noticed that in previous dealings with this witness, interpreters have been used. And indeed, I can see from the transcript that I have, prosecution transcript for December.
But Mr. Hooper, one second.
Yes.
I wasn't really taken by whether or not the interpreter had been used by the prosecutor in the past.
It's not that. It's 2013. And this is the problems with the line, but the OTP representative on that occasion, who I think is I won't mention his name, says, "I'm having real trouble understanding you," mentions the witness's name. It might be the case that I ring back later, maybe with an interpreter. "Do you speak Swahili?" He says, "Yes." He says, "Okay, I might try to arrange a bit later on, possibly, to speak with you with an interpreter." And the witness says, "Yes, it is better if you bring someone so we can talk Kiswahili, because English is not good for me." And the interviewer says, "Yeah, I'm having trouble understanding you. The line's not too clear. Blah, blah." There's another number as well. So I'm just putting that there's a history of this witness's expressing anxieties about having to be limited to English.
All right. Mr. Hooper, the court officer is saying that there was technical difficulty with the French booth hearing you. So they didn't hear what you said in your last intervention. So everything you said wasn't captured. If I may summarize, the sum of it is that Mr. Hooper pointed out that the records indicate that the OTP investigator did have difficulty with the witness on the matter of language, that the witness during interviews had expressed difficulty with English then, and the interpreter the investigator or the interviewer did appear to have noticed that herself and say that she would arrange for an interpreter to be on hand for subsequent interviews, and the witness agreed with that. That is the point of the sum of what Mr. Hooper had said. We'll leave it at that. Witness, let's do this. But you can understand English, can you? Even if you may have difficulty communicating in English?
Mr. President, kwa kiwango kidogo. Si ya kuridhisha.
The witness, yes, I do understand some English. A little bit of English.
All right, let's do this. Mr. Steinbach will start his questions and see how we go. He will ask you questions in English and try to listen to him in English. If you are having difficulty understanding him in English, tell us immediately. He will speak to you in English, and then you're free to answer in English or in Kiswahili. Do you understand?
Nakuelewa, Mr. President.
The witness, yes, I do, Mr. President.
But if you also have difficulty understanding his English, also tell us immediately. We do not want you to answer a question that you did not understand. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Nakuelewa, Mr. President.
Witness, yes, I do understand, Mr. President.
Mr. Steinberg, let's start. You have to be as simple as possible in your English so that the witness can understand. That's why I've also tried to speak in a similar way. I do not know if I succeeded, but I tried.
Thank you, Your Honor. Similarly, I will try my best. Good afternoon, Mr. Witness.
Good afternoon, sir.
Before I start putting questions to you relating to your knowledge of the events in 2007 and 2008 for which you've been called to testify, I'd just like to confirm that one thing. Is it correct that the representatives of the Victims and Witnesses Unit asked you if you would be prepared to undergo witness preparation with the prosecution? Is that correct?
It's correct, sir.
And what was your response to that invitation, Mr. Witness?
It was yes.
Can I just confirm that you said that you were prepared to undergo witness preparation with members of the prosecution?
Yes, sir.
Because what was conveyed to us was that you did not want to undergo such preparation. Is that not right?
Yes, but I had some little problems, so that's why that made me to say so.
So the problems that you had made you say what exactly?
Because when they were... Can I talk in Kiswahili? Please.
Go ahead.
Wakati waliponihoji nitoe ushahidi.
When I was asked to testify, I did not say no. I was not well, and that's the reason.
I understand that. What I'm speaking about is not your testimony itself. My question related to a request to meet with the prosecution before your testimony in order to familiarize you with your evidence before you got into the witness box. You understand?
Yes, Mr. President asked me if I should... I don't know. Mr. President aliniuliza kama unataka tupatane na majaji au watu ya VW. Nikasema nataka nipatane.
The President asked me whether I wanted to meet the VW staff or staff from the OTP.
Yes, and what did you choose?
I chose VW.
Thank you very much. Your Honours, at the outset I would like to place on record certain personal particulars of the witness, which in their nature will be identifying. Therefore, as usual, may I ask that we go into private session. I expect that we can wrap this up in approximately 10 minutes.
Private session.
We are in open session, Mr. President.
Thank you. Mr. Witness, before you continue with that explanation, I'll come back to that in a moment, but I'd just like to explain to you certain procedures I'm going to ask you to follow in order to protect the protective measures that the Chamber has granted to you. And I would ask the court officer, please, to call up page 2 of the protected information sheet for the witness to see and confirm when that's done.
Mr. Steinberg, paper copy of page 2 of the PIS is shown.
All right, Mr. Witness, as we're going through your evidence, it may be necessary to refer to certain locations.
This time we need to take that again, not from your end, but from the court officer's end. There's something that ended indecisible. We want the matter to be clear on the record. Court officer in Nairobi, you said, Mr. Steinberg, a paper copy of page 2 of the PIS, and then the record did not get the rest of what you said.
A paper copy of page 2 has been presented to the witness.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Witness, as I was saying, if you look at the page in front of you, there are various places and names of people, so locations and people, that you might need to refer to in the course of your evidence. And if we are in public session, particularly in public session, I would ask you not to mention those names and places, since they might identify you to members of the public. Do you understand?
Si utarudia hapo sababu sijaelewa wakati gani niko.
Answer, no. I haven't really understood what you said. Could you please repeat?
All right. Let's look at the first item on the page under the heading Locations. Without reading it out loud, because we're in public session, do you see the name of that place?
Ndivyo.
Answer, yes.
If in the course of your evidence you need to refer to that place, please don't say it out loud. Rather refer to location number 1. Do you follow?
Ndivyo.
Answer, yes.
And similarly, also, if you need to refer to any of the persons listed below numbers 1 to 12, could you please refer to them as person number 1, person number 2, person number 3, and so on? Understand?
Ndivyo.
All right.
Answer, yes.
All right, thank you. Now, let's go back to the explanation you started to give to the Chamber regarding the circumstances under which you came to sign a statement before the OTP. Perhaps we can first start by just identifying the actual statement that you signed. Madam Court Officer, I'm not sure whether you have a paper copy or an electronic copy of that statement available. Can you please confirm which you have and also which revision you have?
Mr. Steinberg, I have a paper copy of document KenyaMOJA.com 0087 0031. It's a redacted version, but I'm unsure which redacted version it is. I can, however, confirm that some paragraphs are blackened.
Can you just confirm whether paragraph 124 is redacted? That will help us.
Yes, it is.
All right, then I think you have revision 5, which will be fine for present purposes. So, Mr. Witness, can I ask you please to look at the front page of that document that the court officer is showing you? Do you have that in front of you now?
I see the time.
Ndivyo.
So perhaps this is just a brief memory. Are we going to ask the witness what his account is? Or is my friend choosing to go straight to the statement? And why is the PIS form headed by the name of someone who doesn't feature in the evidence at all? And indeed, number 3 on the list is someone who doesn't feature in the evidence. And it's rather telling that the prosecution's approaching the witness in this particular way. Wouldn't it be better to ask the witness what his account is and come about in that way?
May I start by correcting my learned friend? Both of those persons are distinctly mentioned in the statement. I refer to paragraphs 19 and 20. I do indeed intend to ask the witness to give his account. I just wanted to identify the statement we were talking about, and I do not intend to go to the contents, but as we've done in the past, simply get him to identify his signatures thereon. Perhaps we can just wrap up at that issue, and then we can move on in the morning. Mr. Witness, do you recognize this document that's being shown to you?
Naam.
Sir, no.
Rudia tena, sikuwaja kuelewa.
The witness, please repeat your question.
Yes, my question was, do you recognize the document, the statement that's being shown to you by the court officer? Have you seen this before?